What's happening, you guys? It is day 2 of my extended fast, and I'm coming on here. It's a little after 8 o'clock, I think, and just wanted to update you guys on how today went. Not real shocking, probably, for those of you who've watched the channel for a while. I'm really not struggling too much today because it is only 2 days. It's usually about the 3rd or 4th day, and I know this from 4 or 5 times in the past, going back to when I was 16. The 3rd and 4th day of fasting for me is when it gets kind of difficult. That's a difficult period. But so today I woke up at 5. I did some reading. I had to kill an evil rooster. I had about 4 cups of coffee in the morning, and that was before noon, so I kind of spread it out from 5 o'clock to noon, and went to work, and in the course of the day drank about 1.5 gallons or maybe closer to 2 gallons of water. I drink a lot more water on fasting days, and so you know, obviously I'm consuming a lot and peeing a lot. And mostly today the symptoms were the normal symptoms that I have every time I fast. So anytime I fast, especially more than 24 hours, so I had some fasting chills. You know, I feel the cold a little bit more. Not a problem. It's August. I live in the deep south, and so we're good. It's been really humid. If I was fasting in the winter, this might be more of an issue, but for now it's all good to have the chills. Also, some muscle soreness. People have asked me if I've had muscle soreness as a result of fasting, and yes, I have. I've noticed that I worked out yesterday morning, so the morning of the first day of this extended fast, I hit the weights, and I'll probably do that sometime around the 5th or 6th day again, just to kind of tell my body, you know what, I need to keep this muscle. But I do feel more sore, the recovery, and that maybe is just because I'm not getting enough potassium, or not the normal amount that I would normally get. But not a real issue. And another common thing that I have, and that people ask me about all the time, they say, Steve, do you have trouble sleeping when you're fasting? And it depends on how you define trouble, or how you what you consider to be a problem. What I've noticed is that I need less sleep when I'm fasting, period. You know, so if I fast all day and go to bed that night, I'm only going to get 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and that's really all I need. You know, normally I would get about 7. But I don't feel like more tired the next day. I think if you have the expectation that you always sleep 8 hours a night or something like that, when you start fasting, you will notice that you need less sleep. You know, you get like this nervous energy. And, you know, it's just like, it's kind of like what I've read about restless leg syndrome. Like my wife, I had restless leg syndrome when she was pregnant, and she would get this weird tingly sensation. And sometimes I feel that. I get like the tingling in my, and it's not like painful or anything like that. It's just like energy, like you've had too much caffeine. And that's how I feel a lot of days when I'm fasting. And it gets to be where you love it, because you get like, you know, that movie Limitless, you know, like where but without the pills, without the drugs. Like you feel more energetic, and you feel more alert and focused, and so that affects sleep. Yes, it does. It does for me. It doesn't. Maybe it doesn't for everybody, but for me, yes, I do sleep differently. Now, one thing that's true is I'll always, whether I'm fasting or not fasting, I will get an afternoon slump right around 2 to 4, maybe 5. And I'll just feel tired. And it doesn't matter if I'm fasting. That's the time of day that I always get tired, and a lot of people do. It's circadian rhythms and all that. So what I try to do is when that afternoon slump hits me, I just try to, I try not to nap. I try to stay busy. If I'm sitting down, I try to stand up. I try to do something more physical. And, you know, about the whole sleep thing, I try not to consume caffeine after like noon, because I've noticed that it will affect me. I don't want the caffeine to be a factor along with the fasting high and the fasting energy. And, you know, at the end of the day, if I'm laying in bed and I can't sleep, I just go with it, yo. Amazon Prime's been sending me all these free books, and here, read this novel. And I'm just like, yes. And so I'm getting plenty of reading done, I can tell you that. But, like I say, I don't suffer from it. I feel more energetic during the day. And the fact that I'm sleeping differently is just something that I've grown accustomed to. So that's the issues for day 2. That's the things that's been going on. Not really any issues. Nothing new. Tomorrow will be interesting because at the end of today, I'm at the 48-hour mark right now. The glycogen is depleted. The blood sugar drops, and that's when, and you get what some have called the keto flu, where your body is switching to fat burning, and that's what tomorrow will be, and that will probably not be pleasant. If history is any indicator, I will have some stories for you tomorrow evening, and that's the truth. And it may be the kind of stories, that make you don't want to fast. So stay tuned. Okay, there was a comment from yesterday I want to get to. John K. wrote, I'd be curious to find what else you're doing with your time other than being in this wrestling match with your relationship to food. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you seem like a terrific smart guy, and I've learned a lot by watching your videos. But you could have just stopped there, John K. You didn't have to go on. You could have just ended, I'm a smart guy and you enjoy my videos. You could have just stopped. No, you had to have a but. I see how you are. I see how people are. Here's his but. It's a big but. You seem to want to indulge some of your obsessive-compulsive tendencies with these prolonged fasts. Please take that in the spirit it's given. I think balance and moderation are important aspects of health for what it's worth. Thanks. Well, I do. I appreciate a good constructive comment. That's when comments are critical, I'll usually ignore them if they're not constructive. There's only one person who's ever been banned from the channel not because he was attacking me, but because he was attacking other commenters. And that's kind of where I draw the line. But this is a really constructive and useful comment, and I do appreciate the spirit in which it's given, John, and I appreciate your commenting. Obsessive compulsive tendencies, that may be true. If it's true, I'm one of millions. That's not to justify if I have obsessive compulsive tendencies, but I'm a person that has an ordinary struggle. This is an ordinary struggle. Talking about my relationship with food, how to get control of appetites and stuff like that. What you said about balance and moderation, I totally agree with. That is important in health. The problem is, I suck at it. What are you going to do with me? I suck at it, and that's why I think fasting works for me, because it allows me, it makes allowance for my weakness. Okay, so, and I also understand. I think behind this comment, there's a little bit of wanting to say this is extreme. This is going too far. These longer fasts go too far. And I just want to point out to you that people have been fasting for millennia, that it is perfectly natural, really. It's just not natural for us in America or in Western civilization to skip meals. But, and also I think some forms of fasting are extreme. When I first heard about them, like dry fasting, absolute fasting, going without food or water or anything. Okay, so like I look at that and go, that's crazy. But a lot of people look at an 18-hour fast as crazy. And, I've worked with people who are like, they must eat every 6 hours. And they think anything besides that is extreme. So it's all in your perception. What really matters are the results. Okay, so, and part of our problem here is we can't look at the results 2 years out. If I'm still making this channel in 2 years and updating this channel, then you'll know more than you do now. But I can look at what other people's testimonies and stories are and get something from that. And there are people who make fasting a part of their lifestyle, and that's my goal. This is not a one-time thing that I'm just going to do it and ditch it. My goal is to keep using fasting forever. There are some people who fast 1 week a month. There are some people who do intermittent fasting, and there's tons of protocols. But those people who fast 1 week a month, I don't look down on them or think badly of them. If you just take that 1 week, they're fasting for the same amount of time that I am. And it's a fact. You can look it up, do your own research. It's a fact that there are things that are accomplished by a longer fast that just are not accomplished by a shorter fast. If it just depends on what your goal is. If your single goal is weight loss, that's one thing, and intermittent fasting works. If you have other goals, other health goals, and other aims in general that maybe aren't related just to your physical body, then a longer fast can be beneficial. So, as to your question, I love your first question. What do I do? Okay, because I have set aside social media, I've set aside Facebook, I've set aside watching TV, Twitter, Instagram, and eating. I'm not eating. So what do I do with all my time? Very good question. Here's what I do. Today I worked. I've arranged it so that tomorrow and Friday should be pretty light for me in terms of the demands and responsibilities of my life, because I know I'm not going to be feeling like doing a whole lot. In fact, tomorrow's broadcast I may be laid out somewhere in a wife beater with beer and blood stains all over it because I passed out and fell out on a step or something. We'll see. But so I work with more focus on a fasting day, throughout a fast. The things that I've been putting off for a while around the house, I can give attention to. I read a lot more when I'm fasting, when I'm avoiding TV, just kind of like toning out the white noise and enjoying the silence, enjoying quiet. And I catch up on my reading. I pray and I meditate. And when I meditate, I'm really talking about thinking. So, and I'm doing it intentionally. So I'm thinking about problems. I'm thinking about things going on in my life, my surrounding circumstances, the people around me, and I'm giving thought to them and praying for them, and putting my energy, so to speak, the energy of my life, sort of out there for other people. An example of that today is, and it's a small victory, but it just demonstrates here, is one of the things I fasted today was getting angry at my son. My teenage son. I went to pick him up at soccer practice. He's the reason I'm late uploading this video. And he just was lollygagged. He didn't get in the car. It was like I was sitting there for 15 minutes. And I could just feel my blood pressure going up. I'm like, I haven't eaten all day. I want to get home. I want to relax. I want to make my video. And he just was having a good old time, him and his friend that I was there to pick up. And right there in the car, I said, you know what? I'm taking a fast. I'm fasting from anger. And I'm not going to be mad at him. And I just let it go. And I instantly felt better. I put a good tune on, and I felt great. And that's just an example of just changing the energy, going, you know what? My son is young. He's out there with his friends. I'm not going to have him here forever. And those were the thoughts that were going through my mind. And that's something that fasting, yes, you don't have to fast to experience that. But I've noticed that when I do fast and when my focus is different, I experience those thoughts and think those thoughts more often. So that's just an example there. Another thing I do, I mentioned putting on a tune. I listen to music. It is so great when you're fasting to just like put on Radiohead, the stuff that I used to listen to when I was a teenager, and just lay in the dark or go out and look up at the clouds and think about God and think about the future and think about the things I used to think about when I was a teenager, including, the mystery of pretty girls, the mystery of women and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. And so I'll listen to Radiohead or a Teenage Fan Club or something that I used to listen to when I was a kid, and I just enjoy it. Listen to new music. I explore things that I really haven't had time for, but now that I've set eating aside, I do have time. So I sit on the beach and listen to the waves. I do that too. I live close to the beach, and so I enjoy that. I'll call someone or write to somebody that I haven't heard from. I've gotten a lot of great emails from you guys today. There was like a plethora of emails, a cornucopia of emails, and I do appreciate them, and I'll get back to you on them. But so that's the sort of thing that I like to do when I'm fasting. And just try to connect with people in as much as I can off of social media, instead of just hearing all their politics and their what they had for dinner and their picture of their dog, to actually try to connect with people in a way that's substantial, that adds value to my life and to theirs. And so that's kind of the goal. And also I consider what I need to change what needs to change about myself. So I think about things like, hey, when I'm done with this fast, how am I going to change my lifestyle? Am I going to go keto? Am I going to change my diet? What things are working for me and what things aren't? And I just kind of reflect on all that. So that's just an example of how I spend my time while I'm not wrestling with food, John. I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the constructive criticism. To all the rest of you, I wish you the best of health. Eat, drink, and be merry. Tomorrow I'll still be fasting. See you tomorrow. Bye.